Hi, I'm Frank Luca, and I'm the Chief Librarian at the Wolfsonian FIU Library. I'm particularly proud of the exhibition you're about to see, as it was put together by two students who are taking a course that I teach as an adjunct of a professor of history at Florida International University. This was a course on the Great Depression and New Deal, and these two graduate students who are part of the Teaching American History Initiative, working on their master's degrees, is really looking at Franklin Delano Roosevelt's relationship to the labor movement. These two students, Rosita, Sosa and Iris Sanchez-Ruiz, came in and did research throughout the semester, selecting a number of library objects to go in the cases, came up with all of the themes by themselves, and put together this exhibit. Since we only had 3 cases, they divided their sections into 3 themes: the promise of the New Deal, the social and economic realities that the New Deal was to address, and then finally looking at labor striking, literally striking in this case, for a better deal than the New Deal. In addition to the materials that they selected for the display cases, the students were very enthusiastic about including other museum objects, but given our limited space in the library foyer, they decided to turn it into a PowerPoint and use images of those objects online as well. And I think the results are really quite amazing, and we're really thrilled with their participation in this project.
Back to work. FDR and Labor's New Deal. In accepting his party's presidential nomination in 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt pledged a new deal for the American people to combat the Great Depression. After taking office in March of 1933, Roosevelt experimented with a variety of new programs designed to revive the economy and to put millions of unemployed farmers and industrial workers back to work. Illustrated books, pamphlets, periodicals, and other print materials from the era reveal the promise of the New Deal to create jobs, the social realities that such programs were designed to address, and a parallel development of the 1930s, the growing influence and militancy of the labor movement, as reflected in the proliferation of strikes.
The methodology of curating an exhibit for the Wolfsonian Museum takes a lot of steps. Some of the steps that go into it is a lot of research and making sure that the sources you're using are all primary sources. At first, we see an exhibit when we walk into a museum and we feel, oh, this is nice. However, there's so many things that we have to think about when we're putting those items on display. There's measurements, there's availability. For this particular exhibit, we were limited to only primary sources that were located within the Wolfsonian Museum. We used quite a bit on the cases themselves, but we found ourselves having so many other things that would be beneficial to the exhibit that we also created a PowerPoint presentation which would allow us to show artifacts that didn't exactly fit or were available for display, to also show what's going on during this time period with the labor issues and the New Deal policies. The exhibit is based on 3 cases and an ongoing PowerPoint presentation. The first case is the promise. The promise is based on all the policies and new deals that were put together in order to put people back to work. One of the main things about the promises is that the propaganda they use shows color. When we want to show hope or promise, we put color into it to entice people to see and believe in what's being done. Several new deals were put together. For example, the NRA created a song to encourage people to go back to work and to show them that there was work for them. The Road is Open Again is another song that the NRA put together and FDR supported. We have the CCC putting men back to work, both African American and white, the promise of hope and work in the coming future.
The second case of the back to work presentation or display shows people being put back to work. We have images of men, women, African Americans, whites, children, and young women all being put back to work via the different policies and programs put to place by the New Deal legislation. What makes this a concisive case is that we have photographs of people and the social realities presented during the 1930s depression. All of the images are in black and white, and they demonstrate hands and faces of these people that are being affected by the New Deal programs. The third case in the Back to Work Museum exhibit deals with strikes. When we think about strikes, we think about the negative connotations that are associated with strikes. In actuality, the 1930s New Deal legislation is has a very positive image of strikes. Now, the legislation allowed workers to go on strikes to protect their rights. What we see in the third case are wood cuttings as well as graphic images of workers going on strike as well as their mobilization. Now, thinking about the 1930s, and even though it is very violent, we have to consider that the strikes are a very positive move for workers, and it allows them to gain their rights and to fight for better working conditions.
In conclusion, the exhibit displays how the policies during the New Deal era were both a promise, the reality, and the strikes. We see a progression of what was going on at that time period. The ongoing PowerPoint provides a visual as well of the effects of the New Deal policy. The opportunity to use research and primary sources to educate the public and our students is an opportunity. In order for our students to develop independent thought and higher thinking skills, using primary sources of historical significance will provide a tool for them to enhance their knowledge and their ability to understand what's going on in our society, both in the past and in the present.